folks, and welcome to another episode of the Positude podcast. I am your host, Maggie Hart, and I'm really excited to be here for another week, spending time with you just like we would, having a cup of coffee in the living room, chilling out, telling stories, sharing knowledge, talking about a lot of different subjects, whether it be the paranormal, religion, holistic healing, ways to help better yourself mentally and get better from different mental struggles, anxiety, just any number of things. And we haven't even broached the tip of the iceberg yet. There's so much more that I want to cover with you and share my perspectives and just open your minds to have you think. Whether or not you agree with some of the things I have to say, still gets the channels flowing, still gets the wheels turning so that you're able to go down your own path and figure out, what do you believe? What works best for you? What is going to serve yourselves and your families most effectively? Last week, the show that I did was about Jaguar Wright. Is she telling the truth? What is all this stuff that's coming out in social media and in mainstream media about alleged allegations and witchcraft and child sacrifice and sexual abuse and all of these terrible things? But it's coming to light, right? And how much of this is real and how much of this is made up? I want you to open your mind and to think. I want you to decide what side of the fence you're going to be on. If you're listening to this show, I already know. We're on the right side of the fence, but it's a matter of navigating through these challenging times and sharing what we know with others to help them get by and to help you feel not so alone. We can go any number of routes for today's show, but when I was praying and meditating on something to talk about, at least for part of the hour, automatically in my head, the feng shui of spirituality popped up. What does that mean, even? Well, I got to thinking about that and why that popped into my head, and I thought, I know. With all of this stress and strife and anxiety and fear and just all of the negative feelings that tend to creep in to our mindsets when we're worried about worry, when we're struggling to try and get through these things and worried about how are we going to feed our family, we need different things that can help to soothe us and calm us down. And while I've gone over some of these things before, I feel that it's important to revisit some of them and maybe add some new things to the spectrum of things that you can do inside your home to truly make it your oasis from the outside world. Now, having said that, once you turn the television and the computer on, you're allowing that energy to come into your home and infiltrate your personal oasis. So just a reminder to try and limit that. You need to keep your finger on the pulse, but you don't want to become overwhelmed with it. And that's something that I've been saying for years. But what can we do inside of our home to create our own sanctuary and oasis from the outside world, irregardless of the surroundings in which we live? Why is this important? It's important because as times become more challenging, and with the upcoming election, there are a lot of question marks there as to what will happen. And we may find ourselves in a situation again, just as we did with COVID, where we're forced to stay in our homes for a while. Only this time it may be under the guise of keeping us safe, i.e. martial law. So we want to make sure that the places that we're going to be at are as comfortable and calm and soothing as possible, as well as making sure that we have everything that we need in that environment to be able to traverse the times ahead. The way that I'd like to start this episode is to remind everybody to please get out there and vote. I was a guest on a show the other night, it was I think Friday night, where I had brought out the fact that 25 million Christians say that they're not going to vote in this election because they don't approve of either candidate. So we've talked about Trump and some of my opinions and feelings about him. What I glean from my gifts, what's given to me in prayer and meditation and comes to me in the forms of visions. And what I need to say is this: irregardless of whether or not I feel, and I do feel, that he didn't take a strong enough stance in the vaccination arena when he was in office. And that's my personal opinion. But I was also shown things in vision, right, that I haven't really shared all of yet. But anyway, just on the basis of a Christian perspective alone, to not vote, we're not exercising our free will, our God-given right, our Creator-given right, our universal right. So here again, doesn't matter what your religious perspectives are or your belief system is. Free will is a universal thing. We need to exercise it. We need to utilize it, because the bad guys, and we talked about this on the show Friday, actually, the host brought it out, and it was something that I think needed to be reminded to people, and so I give him a lot of credit for talking about it again. But so much information is put out there in music, in movies, in media, because the bad guys have to tell us what they're doing before they do it. So when we know that they're up to no good, and we're getting insights on the daily, if you pay attention to different sources, television shows, music, things like that, we have an indication as to where they'd like to take us. Is that going to happen? I don't think so, at least not to the capacity that they intend it to. And I do believe that we will overcome this, and that period of time, it will get sketchy for a while, it's going to get hard for a while, but it will get better. However, if we don't use our free will to do what we can to protect ourselves and fight against what they'd like to do to us, then no activity from the bad guy's perspective and from universal law is the same as an agreement. It's the same as an acquiescence. If we don't make a stand, if we don't make a decision, if we watch that movie and go, ha 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 ha, that was so cute, oh, that was really cool science fiction, but we don't really pay attention to what they're trying to tell us they're going to do or want to do, and we do nothing, then that's on us. That's the universal law, that doing nothing is the same as acquiescing. It's the same with all of these laws and stuff that they pass. If the people don't rise up and, talk to their elected officials and write letters and protest and do all of these things, peaceful protest, and do all these things that we need to do to let them know that we're not happy with the situation, then silence is the same as our agreement. whether or not you believe that the votes in the last election were stolen with the ballot boxes and that whole incredibly convoluted and intricate debacle, you still need to vote because you need to make a stand. You need to make a choice. And unfortunately, not only at this stage of the game for this particular matter, but for others, if you don't make an active move, that's counted as doing nothing. You're not exercising your free will. And so whatever happens as a result of that, you have no reason to complain. You have no reason to argue. You have absolutely no right to speak out against something that you don't agree with if you did nothing to try and change the circumstances. Also, energetically, it's a really big deal because energetically, if you're going out and you're voting for the candidate that you feel would be the best to run this country in this instance, then you're putting the energy out there and you're thinking, why do I want this person to be in office? Because I know that he's not going to allow the killing of babies, the murder of innocent children. Because I know that he's going to try and do the best thing for our country by protecting our country and help us economically and all of those things. And when you're thinking of that energy, you're projecting, whether or not you're aware of it or not, you're projecting that energy out into the ether. So when you think about casting that vote, what I'd like for you to do is think about projecting all of the energy and focusing on what you'd like to see happen as a result of this person re-entering office and all of the positive changes that you feel will be made as a result. And visualize what you want to see happen and be thankful as though you already have it and showing gratitude as though you already have it. I was listening to yet another short video today about, I can't remember what the show was, but it was, it was that Nino Rodriguez guy who's buddy with 107, and they were talking about how witches are actively doing spell work against Trump and for him not to enter office and for something to happen to him. And they were actively doing spell work to promote and lift up Kamala Harris. Well, this is nothing new. They did this during his last election. I remember doing radio shows, a couple of them actually, about that very topic, about the witches that were doing spells against Trump. And so here again, this is a spiritual battle, and it's something that we need to be prepared for, but it's also something that we can combat energetically from our side of the fence. So you can pray for Trump, you can pray for his family, you can pray and meditate and visualize all of the curses, hexes, spells that are thrown against not only he folks, and this is where we come into play, and I talked about this way back when Trump was up for election before, but whether or not you're aware of the fact, these people are also cursing anybody that is in congruence or supports Trump. Now, Nino might not have brought that out today on his broadcast, but it's something that is there, and I know that to be true. Excuse me, and I know that to be the case, and that's what they did the last time. So, as a protection for yourselves and your families as well, you need to be praying against all of that. Putting the energy out there that yourselves and your families and your loved ones that are of the same political mindset are protected and that these curses, hexes, spells are negated and made ineffective. Put the intent out there, and we have the same power that Jesus did. So you have the right and you have the power to negate all those curses, to negate all those spells and hexes, and help to protect the president or the former president and his family as well at the same time. Why is that so important? Because there's a lot of energy swirling around from the dark forces the other way. And it's a very real thing. Energetic attack, spiritual attack, witchcraft attacks are very, very legitimate and real. And so that's just where we are at this stage in the game. A lot of people have, just as a lot of people have woken up to Christianity, a lot of people have also recently woken up to witchcraft. If you look at the rise in numbers, it's absolutely astounding as to the amount of people that have embraced witchcraft, demonology, very, very dark things. They're gathering their forces. So the good side needs to be ready as well. This is clearly a line drawn in the sand. And if you stand there and do nothing and just bitch and moan and complain about what it is and what is happening and what will happen, then you really, you don't, in my perspective, you don't have an avenue to speak because you didn't do anything to help change it. And that's part of your free will. So that's going to come back on you universally. That's going to come back on you spiritually. We are told that we're supposed to do the right thing, right? Some people believe in karma. That's something that will come back on you karmically. However you choose to believe it, it's a real. The energy transfers are real. Whether you believe it through Jesus, through Buddha, through whoever, you have to make a choice and you have to do something. I've been saying for years that we're all a ripple in a pond. Whatever choices you decide to make, however you decide to proceed in any manner of your life, the way that you treat others and the moves that you make personally are going to affect hundreds, potentially millions of people. So if you do nothing, that's on you. And if you do nothing, then in a sense, you're contributing to allowing the dark side to have their moment. Simple. Halloween is this coming Thursday. You may be listening to this broadcast the day after Halloween. Whether or not, depending on the network that you're listening to me on, you hear it before or after, the energetic effects are going to be the same. So we have one of the biggest nights, if not the biggest night of the year, as far as witchcraft goes, coming up on Thursday before the election. How many people out there do not believe that on Halloween they're going to be doing a lot of spells and a lot of witchcraft focused on the upcoming election? Bank on it. Bank on it. Because they know that this is a very strong night for them energetically. So they're going to focus their efforts on that night as well as every day, and they have been, until we get through this election, to focus the energy on getting what they want. And Thursday's a very powerful night. So what I would encourage everybody to do is, and I've done shows on this before also, regarding the dangers of trick-or-treating and Halloween and engaging in that type of activity and supporting the work and the energy of the dark side. What I suggest you do instead is to take that energy and focus within and focus on prayer and meditation and insulating yourselves, your homes, and your families from the after effects of what's going to happen after the election. And if Trump wins and it's a good thing, it's not going to necessarily be a good thing right away, because Kamala Harris has already come right out in an interview and stated openly that she's got a team of people that are ready, should he win, to try and dispute the fact that he won. So when we think back to the last election and all of that happened, and everybody was okay with it, that was a liberal. What do you think is going to happen if Trump wins this time? It's going to be held up. It's going to be delayed. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. And the potential of martial law is there on either side of the spectrum. So it's something that we need to be prepared for. And that's not something that we can decide the day of or the week after the election. That's something that we need to be preparing for now. We need to strengthen our resolve. We need to strengthen our faith. We need to get right in our minds and our hearts where we stand. And we need to insulate and protect ourselves and our families. While we are preparing, we need to keep a very positive energy and see the results that we want to have happen, and be thankful and grateful as though we already have that. We need to see good overcoming evil. This is the short-term answer. If you are of the Christian persuasion, or simply in the box on the good side of the equation, at this stage in the game, there's only one viable candidate that makes sense. Now, having said that, whether or not should he win the election and be put into office, all of that transpires and things get better for a while, we'll take a reevaluation later down the road and see where we're at. Follow these people's moves closely. How much are they truly following the good line, walking the right path? Pay attention. Look for details. Okay? Be aware, be alert, and use your discernment. I spoke a few weeks ago about the AI, and I actually played the clip last week, rather, about the AI predicting that, or stating that Kamala Harris was not only had won the election, but was in term for a second time. The fact that the AI is telling that is something that I find extremely concerning and disconcerting. And I know we talked about it last week, but it's something that I want to stress again, because the possibility is there that this is already pre-written. We've talked about how much of this is a facade, and how much of this is a show, and how much of this is scripted. And how many times have you heard me say it's like the Roman Colosseum? What we need to understand is that a lot of this is quite possibly watching the show. This is quite possibly all set up. And while I know some of you may not want to hear that, you have to accept the possibility that that could be the case. And so therefore, again, it's even more important energetically to protect yourselves and your families and insulate and do the best that you can to get through these tough times that are potentially ahead. There was another clip that I heard this week that talked about Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, of all people, with his evil ways and his robotic demeanor and all of the horrible things that he's done with Facebook. I like to call it Farcebook. He's now supporting President Trump. Really? Does that sound and feel legitimate to you? There's something very, very off about that. If you stop and you pray and you meditate on it, I think that you'll agree. I'd like to play you that clip. This is from the Inspired channel. I don't listen to this guy too much, but it was a short that came up and I found it interesting. So let's go.
How do you know you live in a simulated psyop? When Mark Zuckerberg starts bromancing on Donald Trump.
I've done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time. And that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates. Now, look, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. The historic events over over the weekend. And, on a personal note, it's, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But look, it's, and I think, look, it's, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like the guy.
How do you know you live in a simulated psyop? When Mark Zuckerberg starts bromancing on Donald Trump.
I played the introduction again at the end for emphasis. Simulated environment, alternate reality. These are also subjects that have been talked about and are being brought to the alternative news table as well as the spiritual shows for a hot minute now. We've talked about it before on my show, but do you see where I'm going with this? How much of this all is scripted? So it becomes a matter truly of using discernment, opening up your eyes to being at least open to the possibility that we are being played in a very hard way and for a specific agenda that we may not be aware of yet. But just the fact that we're being played at all should send shivers down your spine. And it should strengthen your resolve to want to be even more safe to protect yourselves and your families. It should be something that it's really needs to be at the forefront of your actions right now. Because when it comes down to the wire, however it plays out, you need to make sure that you and your family are taken care of and that you're going to be okay. So, wow, when I'm praying and meditating and I get this in my head, the feng shui of spirituality, that's the first thing that popped into my brain is different things that we can do to make ourselves feel more comfortable in our homes, in our home environments, to make our days go more smoothly, and to make sure that we're in an environment that supports peace, tranquility, calmness, that eradicates anxiety, that eliminates worry. And how can we do that? Well, we'll talk about that after the break. I'm going to do a short musical break. This is from my good buddy Pat Carr. Pat is an amazing original musician from Louisiana, now in Colorado. Please listen to his music and support him, buy his albums, buy him a cup of coffee, whatever you can do. He would greatly appreciate it. And tell him Maggie sent you. You can reach him at http://www.itunes.com/Pat Carr. Also, we're totally listener funded here on the network, so anything that you could do to support us would be so very much appreciated. You can jump on the main page, check out the other shows that are available to you, possibly jump in the chat room. There's a lot for you to enjoy on these platforms, and we're so happy and blessed and thankful to be able to provide these shows to you. So whatever you can do to support the network, if you have your own business and you want to be a superstar, please consider hosting a spot on our network, whether it be on my show or any of the others or just the network in general. And if you don't have a commercial that's professionally produced, please hit up the owner, and I'm sure that he and the producers can find something, come up with something that would be absolutely suitable for you and something for you to be proud of, a way to promote your business. It's so mutually beneficial to be able to do that on our network because we get to share your products or your expertise or whatever it is that you have to sell, and you get to support us at the same time. You can reach me for all of your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional needs at Maggie, MAGGIE _heart, HEART, at Outlook.com. Please reach out if you need an appointment and you need some help. I'd be more than happy to work with you and help you be the best person that you can be and get through the struggles that you're having. We're all about supporting each other, both here on the network and myself in general. And we just want to see you happy and thriving and doing well for yourself, irregardless of the outside circumstances. So we'll be back right after this musical break. Stay tuned for the second half of the Positude podcast, where we talk about some ways to help you feel better at home in the times ahead and just on the daily. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. That was Just the Thing by Pat Carr. Please give him a shout and support his music. Thank you for joining us for the second half of the Positude podcast. I am your host, Maggie Hart. Again, please reach out to me at Maggie, MAGGIE _Hart, HEART, at Outlook.com for all of your spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental needs. I'd be happy to help, and it's all about helping each other. Let's talk about some ways that we can make our homes even more of a sanctuary. Some things we've discussed a little bit before, but I have some new suggestions for you that are really inexpensive. And I discovered one actually this past week, and I am so thrilled about it. It's a little thing that I did for myself and for my houseplants, actually. And I'm just totally delighted with the results. And it makes a difference in the way that I feel. It helps to elevate my mood. It helps me to feel more at peace. It inspires a feeling of tranquility and beauty and wonder. And it's something so inexpensive but it's also functional, which is what I thought was super cool. So I want to share it with you. With winter approaching here in the eastern part of the United States, my beautiful outdoor solitudes, my places that I loved to step out, hang out, and enjoy nature and be surrounded in what appeared to be little bistro type settings. I've worked very hard to make my back decks look like a little Italian bistro or just a little slice of solitude and peace and tranquility with all of my house plants around and my herbs that I've grown organically and my wind chimes and my little solar hummingbird and butterfly lights that charge in the day and then at nighttime twinkle and change colors, and my roof lighting that's, all different colors. And it's just such a peaceful, calming atmosphere. And in one environment, it's a small city with houses all around me. And so that truly is, that in my backyard, my little slice of heaven. The other is in a very remote country atmosphere, and that is set up like a little Italian bistro. Same thing, flowers and my birds and my bird feeders and just my little patio table and my chairs to sun in and little end tables with baby plants on them. And it's just overlooking just such a beautiful space and environment. It's just really, these back areas are my saving grace and my sanctity after the end of a long day. And in the evening, just to be able to sit out and enjoy the fresh air and hear the crickets and the peepers and be able to look at the stars and just enjoy the cool night air on my skin is just so utterly refreshing and healing and revitalizing. But because of where I live at the end of the season, everything needs to be packed up, tarped over, put in the garage or the shed or in a safe spot for the winter and cleared off so that the snow can be shoveled after a storm, and so nothing gets destroyed. And I love my little secluded areas, and it's very possible to have those wherever you are, whether it be an apartment patio, whether it be a back deck, whether it be a screened-in porch, whether it be a front porch, whether it be a little part of your driveway, whether you've cleared out a part of your garage to make that your personal space, your personal solace, prayer, meditative, relaxation space. It's imperative. Even a spare bedroom, even a hallway or a loft, whatever you have, you need to have those quiet areas, those peaceful areas where there's beauty and peace surrounding you. And they're so easy to create. It doesn't cost a lot of money. You can thrift store. You can go to the dump and see what people are throwing out. Honestly, there are antiques to be had at the dumps. Sometimes you can get really lucky. You can trade with other friends if you're able to make things. You can make your own pieces and create your own pieces and do what I do and shop locally for antiques and refinish things to make them totally customized to your tastes and your desires. And it's just such a feeling of accomplishment when you're able to do that. And you can do that all winter long in your home as well. One of my favorite things to give people are crafts and cards that I made myself. I love that. I love to be able to share or to cook and to bake and to give gifts to friends that I've made lovingly with my own hands. But getting back on topic, so closing up everything for the winter, all of my houseplants now need a place to live, especially those that I've acquired that are new for me this year and ones that I've propagated that now I have babies, and I'm always willing to share my plant babies and my clippings with my friends and family who also enjoy houseplants as much as I do. But everything needs to be inside, and now there needs to be a place in our already kind of small environment to put all of my plants in a spot where they're able to get enough sunlight so that they're able to continue to thrive and grow in the winter. And one of the reasons that houseplants are so special to me is because they are alive. And so many studies have been done where you can play music for plants, and if you talk to them positively and lovingly and pay attention to them, they will thrive and grow. However, if you speak negatively to them and talk to them with hate, they will wither and die. So it's been proven that plants not only are alive, but respond to their environment. And as a result, if you create a loving, positive environment for them, they will also give that back to you. It's one of our most beautiful creations, birds, flowers, plants. They're just, to me, so incredibly treasured because they're so beautiful, and the wonder of watching a plant thrive and grow and flower is just so cool. But also, they purify the air. There are specific types, like spider plants for one, that will purify the air. In addition to that, a lot of them have healing qualities. I raise plants that a lot of people can't find anymore, that aren't really readily available, but they have very specific medicinal qualities that will help myself and my family should we need them. So I'm struggling here because I have these plants and now I need to find daylight for all of them, and I need to expand my space from last year. And so I started shopping for this clear adhesive that you can put on your windows that is a privacy sticky thing, and it goes on your windows and so that people can't see in, but it would allow the natural sunlight to filter in so that it would help keep the plants alive and keep them thriving. And I shopped around and I found them very, very reasonably on a company called Temu. However, I would suggest if you're going to use Temu, absolutely use PayPal or go down to a grocery store and get a blank Visa card. And you can replenish those as you use the money. You can call in and just keep putting money on them, but use either PayPal or one of those blank cards. Don't ever use your bank account information because they steal it, quite honestly. And you know what? The products do come from China, but so do the products that you buy at pretty much any other department store that you're going to shop at. So if it's American made and I can find it and buy it American made, I'm more than happy to do that. But if I can't, Why would I not shop at Temu when I'm going to go to Walmart or Target or any of those other big box stores? It's going to be the same product anyway from the same source and pay 30 to 35% more. It's a no-brainer. So anyway, I got this really pretty clear window cling. I shopped at Lowe's, I shopped at Walmart, I shopped at Amazon, and Temu had the most reasonably priced, and it looked to be the same quality. And in my experience, for the most part, what I buy from there is a decent quality, or at least as decent as Walmart or any of those. And I waited for it to come, and I put it on one of my back patio doors, one of my sliders, and I put it on a 2-paned large living room window. And what I did was at the bottom of the living room window, because potentially if you were an average height man, you would still be able to see in if you put your face up against the window and see through. I took little strips and put like 2 or 3 strips at the bottom so that if an average height or even a little bit above average height person were to look in the windows, you still couldn't see anything because of the layers. It made it even more private. But the rest of it, I just put the one sheet up. And what I chose to do, rather than stick it to my window so that it was there permanently, was I taped them down so that I can take those off and remove them and change them out, or not use them again at a future time should I change my mind and not like that anymore. But let me tell you something, folks. I love sparkly. Anybody that knows me knows that I love sparkly. And I love rainbows, and so I have prisms on my windows and mobiles inside my home with crystals and prisms, so that when the natural sunlight floods through the windows, it creates rainbows and colorful shapes all over the walls of the house. This stuff is freaking amazing. Literally, both of the rooms that I put them in when the sun shines through is transformed into a myriad of rainbows and colors, and it's just so incredibly beautiful to behold. And both of the rooms that I happen to put them in, of course, have my house plants, but aside from that, the one room in particular is a room that I do a lot of prayer and meditative work in. And so I'm able to sit in that environment inside in the winter in a closed-in space and be able to have an extra boost of beauty around me. And the colors and the way that they flit across the floor and across the walls as the wind blows and the sun changes is just so beautiful. And I'm able to have a really inexpensive, natural source of beauty around me. And that helps to relax the body. When you have peace and tranquility and you have quiet, it's so important also for your surroundings to be comfortable furnishings, things that are comfortable for you to sit and lay on. It needs to be a non-cluttered environment where if everything's in virtual order or in just very pretty decorations or pretty pictures or whatever you choose, whatever your tastes are to have around you, all of those things are going to help you to get deeper in your prayer and meditative stance. Also, they're going to help relax you, and that truly is going to help to create your environment to make it a sanctuary for you. And you can do this anywhere. Again, whether it be an apartment. I actually have people that I know that live down south in a storage shed right now because they can't afford to have any place else to live, and they're on a friend's property or a family member's property in a storage shed. And they were able to transform that into a cute little type hobbit home that's incredibly beautiful inside. So no matter where you are, and even if, like I said, it's in your garage, if you create your garage as your oasis, wherever you choose to be, that just totally changed my game, and I love it. So I wanted to share that with you. Very inexpensive. I think I paid $15.76 for 2 rolls, and it totally, utterly transformed the energies of both of those rooms, even more positively than they were before, because I make a conscious effort of praying and clearing and putting positive energy into my home. Uplifting stuff. So music, animals are just such an incredible source of comfort and relaxation. Scientifically, they are proven to reduce stress levels. They make the greatest companions, even if you're living by yourself, just to have an animal to talk to and interact with and be a part of nature with and just love on and hug and cuddle or even just pet or spend time with. Amazing for lowering blood pressure. It's great for people with dementia and Alzheimer's, any number of things, anxiety, depression, fear, all of that stuff. Animals are amazing. And while some of you might say, well, financially they're very expensive, that may be the case, but there's such a source of just wondrous beauty and love. It's unconditional love. Something that you might not have avenue to right now from a human. It's companionship. It's just something awesome to share and to enjoy. And if you've rescued an animal or a pet, you've given an animal a place to live that might otherwise be, or probably would otherwise be, euthanized or possibly put in a potential home where it would be abused or mistreated. So you're completing that cycle. You're being a ripple in the pond, and you're sharing your love with a creature that will truly be grateful and appreciative for it. I assure you, even if it's a hamster, doesn't matter. They're going to form a bond with you. Feeding the birds and wildlife is another way that I'm able to engage in nature and just be able to appreciate the joys and the beauty of nature by being able to observe these things. Now, I have friends that feed the squirrels and the chipmunks, and they have little picnic benches for their squirrels and corn cob holders for their squirrels and houses for their squirrels and chipmunks. So, that's, it's a personal choice, but feeding the birds, the wildlife that are around you, is also another way to engage in and enjoy the beauty of nature through your windows with the winter months coming when you're not readily able to get outside and, be outside for any length of time because of the cold if you live in a region like where I'm at. And wow, if you're in an environment like Florida where you're able to be outside all the time, well, that's just amazing and wonderful as well. But it helps to preserve environment, and it also helps to serve as a form of relaxation for you. It's just so relaxing to be able to observe nature, and it's so satisfactory to be able to know that you're helping the environment to thrive and survive in an area where they may not have other sources of food. And while we're on that topic, please consider a source of fresh water for them, whether it be a bowl of water that you change out daily or a small bird bath, because other creatures may be drawn in by that as well. Raccoons, possums, small animals if you're in the city, but also the birds, just to have them have a place to wash and get a drink of water. Nature needs water just as much as we do. And a lot of people feed the birds, but they forget about, or the animals, but they forget about the water. And there are certain animals that prefer ground bowls. So what I would do is, especially in the cold weather, set out a bowl or a pitcher of water and just change it out daily in your yard so that they have that if they're not around a natural source of water where they can get a drink. And also very satisfying to know that you're helping nature to thrive and survive, but very inexpensive. Again, You can feed, birds will eat, it doesn't matter. You can buy cracked corn, you can buy sunflower seeds, you can get as fancy or as plain as you like, but whatever you can afford to do. And as far as nature goes, even leftovers will work. Crows will eat meat, crows will eat all kinds of stuff. So another thing that is really effective to help protect yourself from EMF waves is shungite. And they sell tumbles, they sell little polished stones or chunks of it. You can find it anywhere on the internet. Temu has it super cheap at a local gift store. But laying little stones and crystals around your house too helps to beautify your surroundings, and it brings in the energy of those stones, not from a New Age perspective. These are just beautiful creations that the Creator has given us. And shungite does help to block EMF technology. So putting little tumbles on your windowsill and other little stones, it just, especially like an amethyst or a rose quartz that, when the sun hits it, they just look so pretty on the inside of your windows. And again, it brings in some of the vibrancies and the colors and just helps to create a really peaceful and relaxing atmosphere. And I also burn essential oils and all natural tarts in the wintertime, especially. And some of the oils are particularly effective toward killing germs in, this is cold and flu season. By everybody else's standards, it's COVID season, but we know it to be cold and flu season. And oils like Thieves, I actually make my own homemade brand of Thieves to burn throughout the home, helps to kill germs and to purify the air. You can use citrus fruits like orange and grapefruit and lemon oils that also help to purify the air. And whether you use a candle unit with the little dish on top or a scentsy, having those aromatic scents through your home and spiritual stuff like frankincense help to create a peaceful, supportive, calming environment when you're feeling stressed out. So hopefully these are just a few ways that maybe you have or haven't considered that will help to make your home more of a place of solace and relaxation and a positive place to pray and meditate and have the energy that's more positive and less depressing as we come into winter and with these times ahead that are approaching politically. With that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Please support the network. Again, you can get a hold of me at Maggie, MAGGIE _heart at outlook.com. Stay tuned every week because I try to give little tips and pointers periodically that will help you, as well as sharing current events and stories and talking about things like the political arena and what's going on with that. And I'm always happy to hear your feedback as well. So please reach out and get a hold of me. And thank you all for listening and have a great night. We'll see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.